Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1970s. Smells like cheese. Looks like ham. Oh, no problem. It's chicken! This is episode 207, recorded January 17th, 2024.
Gruesome Magazine.
Hi, how you doing? I am your host, Doc Rodden, and this podcast about horror movies released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-host Jeff Mohr and I will tackle another classic, or not so classic, film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. With me this week are my co-hosts, starting off with Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
Well, I'm a little confused, as you can tell. Is this, I'm not sure which British film with a severed hand and scream in the title this is that we're doing.
Well, it is Scream and Scream again.
Okay, so
just
the
keep on
screaming hasn't started yet, but
no.
Scream and Scream again.
Okay. All right.
Got it.
Yeah, got it. All right. Also joining us tonight is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, and author, and all around a nice guy. Show us your book, sir.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Rom. Yay. Ask for it by name. Yeah. Hey, I don't want to bring anyone down, but I did want to say, my family had a loss recently. My dad passed away, and a number of folks who follow the podcast actually reached out and sent me condolences, and I really do appreciate it. We had an awful lot of people have been very, very kind to me, and it's a humbling experience. So it's been rough, but I've seldom felt as much love from all kinds of people. Some folks I barely know, and I really like that human connection that's out there. Let's nurture that, because this is going to be a brutal year. Let's face it, this is going to be a rough year. So as long as we have each other, we'll get through it. But I just wanted to thank everyone for that.
Yeah, but we've all been thinking about you, Bill, and
thank you.
My apologies in advance too for clicking in and out of this, because I got a nasty bronchitis cough. So as I feel fine, but it doesn't stop me from coughing when I don't want to. So
if you could just scream instead of coughing, it would
I know. I'd fit right in, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Again and again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with all the good news, Bill, sorry, bud. Scream and Scream Again, 1970, is perhaps one of the most surreal and bizarre films put to celluloid. It's going to be an interesting review. What we're going to do is start off giving you when we first saw it, what our first impression was, and does it hold up today? And then we're going to dive into a discussion about the film and get into the details and the actors and the characters and what are they thinking, and the director, Gordon Hessler, and find out what all that kind of stuff. And then I think do we have feedback tonight, Jeff?
We do.
We got tons of feedback.
All right, then we'll end with some feedback. Before we get into that, Jeff, I'm not going to make you say a whole lot about this since you got a cold, but
I can. If I start talking, I'll be good. Well, we are partnered with Play Now Media, and you can go to their Wicked Horror TV channel and see all of the Decades of Horror episodes on there, 70s, 80s, and the classic era, starting when we begin video episodes, which is at different times for each podcast. But they now have them all. And I just got a message from him. He now has uploaded all of the titles. He just has to push them to the feed, which I don't know what he means, but I think that means like a massive go light date or something. But anyway,
coming soon to a TV app near
I'm
you.
looking forward to that. And actually, they've got a nice function on there where you could click on films by the decade. So that's what I do.
Oh, that's great.
I go straight to films from the 70s. And start going through the list and go, I haven't seen that.
That's a super useful tool there. Yeah.
It absolutely is. It is. All right. Well, let's get into the card. I'll do this, Jeff. Scream and Scream Again from 1970, directed by Gordon Hessler, written by Christopher Wicking, Peter Saxon. I guess it's based on the novel Disoriented Man from 1967.
Disorientated.
Or Disorientated Man.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Even The cast includes Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, Alfred Marks, Michael Gothard, Christopher Matthews, and Marshall Jones. It was produced by Amicus. Yay! Filming locations include Shepperton Studios and on location throughout England. Apparently. Release date is January 1970 in the UK and February 1970 US. Literally one of the first movies out in the decade. The budget was estimated to be 350. Is that US dollars or pounds?
That's US dollars.
US dollars. Domestic box office is 100. Good God, what is wrong with me? 1.2 million US Canada rentals.
So it made a profit.
It did indeed. And here I go. We're going to try. I'm going to butcher these. Let's go, guys. Also known as dilemma.
I got him. I got to say.
Okay, you do it.
Yes, please.
Even though I just coughed. Die lebenden Leichen des Dr. Mabuse. Means the living corpses of Dr. Mabuse, which they apparently did a whole bunch of. They just got into a big Dr. Mabuse spin-off kick in Germany, and this was probably the biggest stretch.
It's kind of like how they kept calling Godzilla movies Frankenstein movies.
Yeah. So in Spain, it was La Carrera de la Muerte, the death race.
Okay.
And in Mexico, Los Cuerpos Transplantados, which is really a cool word, the transplanted bodies.
Fair enough.
In France, who can pronounce French? Doc, is that you?
No, it is not me.
Not I.
Laches les monstres, unleash the monsters.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is one where not only do we not exactly know what it's about, nobody can figure out what the hell to call it either.
Nope.
But we got to admit, Scream and Scream Again is a
That's a great
intriguing title. Yes, yes.
It is.
And here's a synopsis just to boggle your mind.
Sure.
A serial killer who drains his victim's blood is on the loose in London. The police follow him to a house owned by an eccentric scientist.
Well, now that's like 1/5 the synopsis, but there's 4 other synopses you could have included there.
Yes.
Well, not only that, I may have totally missed the entire meaning of the film because the synopsis I read spelled serial Cereal.
Oh, dear.
I just assumed they meant SER.
Yes.
But it could, was there a serial killer that I didn't get with like Kellogg's or something?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
He puts the crunch in Captain Crunch.
Yeah, there you go. And gosh, I mean, when you watch this movie, it feels like a couple different plots thrown together and then loosely tied at the end. But we'll get to all that. What we want to start off with is, when did we first see this film? What was our first impression, and what do we think of it today, and does it hold up? And I guess I should go first since I picked this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I picked this. The Scream and Scream Again. We've talked about this many a time. It's been on our list, and I just thought it was time to do it. It has a trio of horror icons in it: Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, and Peter Cushing. Although only Vincent Price and Christopher Lee share a scene together, and it's a very brief one.
Yeah.
Peter Cushing is literally a day player. Christopher Lee has maybe 2 days or a weekend, and then Vincent Price slightly more than that. And the rest of it is all about cops and doctors and chasing a weird guy in a silk suit. But we'll get to that. So my first impression of this, or first time I saw it, I saw this sometime in the 70s, early 80s, and I can't tell you if I saw it on TV or if I rented it. It was somewhere in that weird age between watching it, on the weekends for the horror movie of the week kind of thing, or renting it. And I had literally no clue at that age what this was all about. All I remember are, the scenes with the 3 actors I wanted to see together and a few key little other scenes, but there was so much I just forgot. So watching it again was like watching another movie, but I think I could watch it today and still think it was another movie. It is so weird, and so it's told in such a way that's almost anti-narrative, but yet somehow in the last couple of frames they end up tying it all together. But I still have no idea what this one group, what the patches are supposed to be doing. It's almost like some alternate dimension. I don't know. This movie, do I like it? I don't know if I do. Do I hate it? No, I certainly do not. Is it fascinating? It is quite fascinating because we all like to watch train wrecks, and this feels like watching a train wreck. It is so. I'm going to stop there. It is just, this movie boggled my mind again. Decades later. Bill Mulligan, you're up next. When did you first see this and all that jazz?
Well, okay. So I grew up in upstate New York. We had only about 3 or 4 channels on a good night, but they played a lot of horror movies. The indie channels would often do horror movies, especially on the weekends, often very late at night. And I remember trying to watch this at least 2 or 3 times. And just giving up at some point because it's like very late at night. Everyone else is asleep. It's a struggle to stay awake, and I just couldn't follow this. And then when I realized, when I really became a fan of horror movies and realized here's Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee and Vincent Price, and they're not in the movie together. This is like throwing a concert and all the Beatles show up separately, and it never occurs to you to try to get them all on stage at the same time. I mean, that seemed nuts. But even now that I'm old enough and I got an assignment here to watch it and finish, so this may be the first time I've actually watched the movie from the beginning to the end. And I thought, okay, here's my chance to finally make sense of this movie that I remember not making any sense. Okay, Amicus was famous for their portmanteaus, is it?
Portmanteau, yeah.
Portmanteau. They're portmanteaus. I say portmanteau because I think of Kathmandu. And I have a feeling like this movie was supposed to be one of those because it's like got 4 different stories.
It feels that way, yeah.
That do not seem related to each other at all. And then literally at the last possible moment, exposition comes in, finally ties it all together. And you're like, who does that? Why would you make a movie like that? It's so odd. It definitely would never be done today. No one would have the patience for that. So yeah, you're right. It's almost an anti-narrative thing. Gordon Hessler, god dang. I have such a weird feeling about Gordon Hessler because he made a movie that I absolutely unreservedly love, Golden Voyage of Sinbad. And I think that was perfectly well directed. And then he made a bunch of others that are there's something off about them. But then, and you just get, well, he's not that good a director. But then you look into the history of them. And a lot of these, they hired Gordon Hessler like the day before they had to start filming, or something like this that has such a wonky script. I don't know how anyone could have made anything of it. So ignore the fact, realize that directors don't write the scripts, and you're like, okay, he keeps things moving. He's got a weird way of composing shots, low angles, and it's well made. It's just so freaking bizarre. I don't understand why this script was the way it was. The book that it was based on, it's written by an author, but this author was a composite author, as it turns out. It's like a bunch of guys would get together and write these books, and I get the feeling like, Dave did chapter 5, but then he had to run off and do something. So Tom came in and did chapter 6. It's got that, this script has got the strangest vibe of like a bunch of unrelated things that somehow got slapped together. But I guess that was deliberate. There's nothing quite like this. Do I like it? Not particularly. It could definitely use some tightening up. The chase scene goes on way too long. But come on, we've got vampires, kind of zombies, dismemberment, acid baths, 3 of the greatest horror icons of all time.
Yes.
Communist Nazis, some hip swinging music, so instantly dating it. I don't know. There's nothing like this. This is not a typical, it's like sometimes we watch a movie and say, wow, this is a movie that could only be made in the 70s. I'm not sure the decade has come yet where Scream and Scream Again actually fits. It was ahead of its time, and that time has yet to arrive.
There you go. Or it will just never
happen. Yeah.
that's the greatest. Jeff, when did you first see this? What was your first impression?
This is my first time going through it. There's a very nice Blu-ray from Kino Lorber that I bought several years ago thinking, we're going to do this. I know we're going to do this. And so I held off on it until we did.
Oh God, so did you do the extras? Did you do the extras?
I did do the extras. And you might appreciate this, Bill. There is a commentary from Tim Lucas.
Oh, well, that's a sale for me right there.
Very informative. And there's a lot of people that really like this movie. And apparently Fritz Lang was one of them.
Yeah, Fritz Lang.
So anyway, the whole book story was kind of funny too. There was a guy that kind of wrote the book, but there was a whole bunch of people writing under that name. And then the owner of the company, I think it was Mayflower Books, he would like do the final rewrite of all these books, and they all came out under the same name. So not unlike a lot of series in the US, but I enjoyed it. But Peter Cushing, I had to time it. 3 minutes and 15 seconds. That's how long his scene lasts. And that's it. One scene, right?
Yeah.
He's gone. I thought Vincent Price was great. I thought he did a great job.
Yes.
Christopher Lee, another kind of odd character in this.
He's in like 4 scenes.
Yeah, the person that sort of steals this movie is the guy in the silk shirt and the sports car. And the detective superintendent Believer, played by Alfred Marks. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah, he was terrific.
He just had this really
right.
Yeah. And there was no fear involved in anything. Go this, you go that, and then boom, right into it. You know, it's just like, no one's ever going to harm me.
Yeah, Jeff, because in most of these movies, the cops are less than useless. They're absolutely, they're buffoons. And it was interesting to see one who, he's like, this guy's a viable foil to these villains.
And he was funny in a sort of gruff, sort of
dry British humor sort of way. Yeah.
So yeah, and that chase scene is something. That's actually, part of me was like going, oh my God, he's taking off again. But on the other hand, I'm looking at this and going, this is a hell of a chase scene. This is really pretty good. This all makes sense. It's all logical. They're there had tension. And that guy was the perfect look for, what was his name? Michael Gothard. He was a perfect look. Usually when I watch these movies from that era and they show somebody who's supposed to be sort of a hip modster or a mod hipster or something,
that works.
This guy worked, he actually worked. Anyway, you know what? I enjoyed it. And it kind of makes sense at the end, although there's no explanation for this is apparently, are these guys supposed to be East German or some new communist put together after World War II alliance or something?
And they've been in power for like 5 years, they said?
Yeah, they've got this weird ass trident that somehow invokes the swastika, even though it looks nothing like a swastika. Right. I think it's because it's like you took a Nazi uniform and put this symbol on the red armband instead of a swastika. So obviously that's what it invokes. And there's a few accents in there too, if I remember right. But so I just I don't know what to say.
It did feel like you said. I loved that you said it felt like a portmanteau. Because it did. It felt like different stories, but it didn't feel like they were broken apart and they were supposed to narratively.
They're running at the same time, and we're switching back and forth.
I know. Yeah. So kudos for that. All right. Well, Bill, since Chad is not here,
oh dear,
Jeff, if you're ready with the music, are you ready to do taglines with Chad?
I am.
You get 3.
Or 4. Ooh.
Wow. Ooh.
Get the extra corrector from the Black Lagoon.
I figure it was stuck.
Yeah. Well, with a movie, with a movie this
I know what you're thinking, Doc. Doc's in this mode where
Stop. Don't. Just let him do it.
Okay. All right. So, a movie this unique has got to have some pretty unique taglines. So, here's our first one. Horror that nightmares are made of.
It sounds like a song. Horror.
Yeah, that's a horror.
The nightmares are made of.
Literally every movie we've ever done could have used that tagline. That's sitting around there. Yeah, but this one's a little different. Triple distilled horror, as powerful as a vat of boiling acid.
Boiling acid.
This, which goes well with the poster, which I like the poster.
Yes, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Poster, yeah, distilled. I wonder, was the acid distilled? Is that the deal?
Triple distilled.
Triple.
Oh, because of the three guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Still look like urine, but okay. We'll go with acid. And then the last one.
Don't, Bill. Doc's in one of those moods. So just.
Gee. He's going to make somebody out of every body he meets.
Body.
Somebody.
I got it.
Terrible. That is.
You want somebody.
And there you go. That was Taglines with Chad or Bill Mulligan.
As played by Bill Mulligan.
You dodged a bullet, Chad. Dodged a bullet. 3 terrible taglines and severed hands. And you managed to
and the music. He dodged the music. Let's take a look. Oh, this poster.
I love that. I love that poster. It's sleazy and I like it.
It's classic, right? Oh my God. We grew up looking at that in the monster magazines, in the monster books. They would put that picture. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And look at the names down there. If you're a horror fan, that's the movie you want to see.
Yeah. And
you don't know where to look. You've got great. It's a simple graphic, but it's got great.
No pictures of them, but
no,
that's all right. This is a good.
Yeah. You get that little confusion you get as a kid because there's kind of a beautiful woman, but she's
but not.
She's sort of naked, but there's no head there. Oh well, not a deal breaker.
So here's a couple of
right. Yeah. That I like that one on the left. Is that Italian? Because it really does look like some of the Italian giallo posters.
Yeah, it's got Vincent Price at the top.
Yeah.
Got that thing he starts whacking everybody with at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the one on the right has the half-faced woman. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's supposed to be against Vincent Price's character again. Yeah, the nurse. Yeah. But those are awesome. I don't remember Terror el Terror.
Yeah, so Scream and Scream Again becomes Terror and Terror.
Yeah. And I think that one on the left. Did you
Cry
say
of
where
Horror?
That was from? Well, I think it's, and then what is Grue Crew? Because we get these posters a lot, and they're in French and Dutch.
Wow.
They'll
have 2 different titles on them. I don't know if this is one of them or not, because I didn't look it up ahead of time. But
both of them are awesome. And then we have this. There's the one for Chad.
That was the one for Chad. Yeah.
But at least it didn't crawl around. Although there was one scene I was waiting for it to begin crawling.
Me too. I was fully expecting. I was like, how are they going to pull off this difficult special effect? And they did it by not doing it.
They did it by not. But it was, oh my God, that shot was so cool. There's a shot where they have the hand and it's on. They just put it on a pedestal for some reason.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
Watch it. And then
even
the zombie nurse lady comes in to get it.
It's hanging from the bumper, and there's a handcuff, and the hand is cuffed, hanging from the bumper. I'm like, that's brilliant.
That was the one part I remember from trying to watch it as a kid that just stuck with me. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, but that one part I don't remember the scene where the zombie nurse comes in and gets it, and man, she kills like the other nurse with one whack across the face.
Yeah,
kind of crazy. And of course, we have the book that it's based on, The Disorientated Man.
Yeah.
Story of a terror more than human, less than savage animal, more deadly than death itself. So,
yeah,
I think the book and the original script, it wasn't this made-up communist alliance. It was Aliens.
I'm not saying it's aliens, but it was aliens.
But it's alien. You kind of think, well, you never know. It kind of could have been aliens in the thing too. Because I mean, okay, so I want to say something before I forget, but it's kind of cool to see Vincent Price have superpowers. I don't care what you think, but Vincent Price ends up being a what do they call him? A construct, right?
Mm-hmm.
He ended up being one of the constructs, one of the Frankenstein monster thingies, because it does have Frankenstein monster thing in it, and he ends up being one, and he has superpowers. So the little Vulcan pinch thing of death doesn't work on him quite as much, and he's about ready to go down, but then he gets a strength, and
he hulks
Vulcan,
up.
The super
he
Vulcan
does hulk up.
But it was so inconsistent, like what these constructs are, what they can do. One guy's got the Vulcan death pinch. Vincent Price has like super strength, and Christopher Lee can make you do things just by staring at you.
Yeah, he like.
Okay, so
but he could do that.
Different powers. I mean,
but couldn't he do that in life though?
I
think so.
Listen, if Christopher Lee glared at me and said, "Get into an acid bath," I'd be like, "Okay, sir, where's that bath you spoke of?" I mean, sure. It
was a really good shot of Vincent Price going into the bath.
Yeah,
the weird going back. And then
well,
glub.
In the trailer, we'll wait for I'll wait for that picture.
Okay.
Well, go ahead. You're going back to the trailer. Ahead. We had a great time with the trailer because what is it? Somebody said you had one job.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Look at these idiots.
Peter Cushing, there on the bottom.
Peter Cushing, boy, what an actor! He could make himself look like a completely different person.
And this is literally the trailer. The trailer
that's in the trailer. Well, the other thing is in the trailer, they reverse the footage of Vincent Price. They show his face coming up.
He's rising out of the urine. Yeah,
rising out of the urine. That's great.
Which I'm sure he probably wished he had done, since that ended up.
And this was I think this was distributed by AIP in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like it would be.
Yeah. Of course, this is an incredibly scary, frightening shot of Christopher Lee on the phone.
Yeah.
So what else were you going to say about the trailer, or was that it?
That was it. What I was going to bring up, how you talked about Vincent Price going into falling into the vat, but in the trailer they show him coming out, and then, which never happens, and then and Peter Cushing, and it's just Peter Cushing, not Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing, not Peter Cushing.
How you could do that, how anybody could do that, and it's still around. I mean, it apparently got released. That trailer apparently was.
I could just see Peter Cushing looking at this and just shaking his head. It's like, at least the check didn't bounce.
Oh, do you think Peter Cushing ever saw this?
I hope not.
All right, we got to talk about Gordon Hessler, because is that Gordon Hessler? No, that's
no. This is just some.
This is Amicus films.
Because when we think of Amicus, we've done so many of the portmanteaus. I'll never get it right. Just give up.
Plateau.
Yeah, they did a number of films that were just straight narrative feature-length films, and a lot of them, I don't know, a lot of them weren't very good. They're just they just came across sometimes as second-rate Hammer. To me, it was the anthologies that was really their strength, because Hammer never did an anthology, did they?
No.
Now, Amicus was great at it, and I did like the Skull, but the Skull felt like it could have been a Hammer film. But some of these others,
love the Skull. The Skull is one of my favorite films. Yeah,
the
whole Skull Vision thing,
kind of like an anthology, because there's a different story with each one of these guys with the Skull, isn't there?
And we're going to be doing I Monster sometime in the near future.
Yeah, okay, cool. Well, that'd be good, because I have not seen I Monster. Now that's another one, Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. Hopefully they have more than one scene.
They have scenes good. Yeah, but it was also one that was shot in 3D but never released that way.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah. What
there's a lot
of Jack and Jill.
Yeah. And what's the one in the middle with the baby kill thing?
Oh, The Mind of Mr. Soames, which is I watched it. It's not very good. It's kind of like, if you ever saw the movie Charlie. It feels it feels like they were trying to go in for the same sort of vibe, but it's not as good. I don't know.
Aeronauts, and what's the one at the top right there?
They Came from Outer Space.
They did, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Not that one.
What's that?
Not the
Not it came from outer space.
They did.
It was a bunch of them this time.
Yeah, it was a whole gaggle. It's not a sequel either. All right, now we're doing.
There's Gordon Hessler.
Now, what was crazy? Okay, so I just want to say Gordon Hessler directed one of my favorite episodes of Call Jack the Night Stalker.
Oh, really? Which one?
The Spanish Moss Murders.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Am I the only one that loves that episode?
No,
I love that episode.
Well, they're all great. But I really feel like Hessler just seems like one of those guys that did not get the opportunity to make the film that would solidify his reputation. Golden Voyage of Sinbad's a great movie, but it's a Ray Harryhausen movie, and no matter how good a Ray Harryhausen movie is, the director gets zero credit.
Mm-hmm.
We'll never get any credit for how good it is. Everyone knows who's in charge of that thing. And then most of the others, there was always script problems. He was someone, I think he would have been better served if maybe he had just said no more often. He seemed to have been someone who kept being dragged into movies that Michael Reeves was going to direct, including this one, apparently. And man, I just don't know what anyone could have done with this to make it work. It's just such an odd film. It's such an odd script.
Yeah, I mean, it works in its own way, but only if you're in the mood to have it work. Yeah. Like you said, I guess it's a cult favorite, is what Jeff was kind of alluding to, that there are fans of this that really love it. But he's also responsible for The Oblong Box, Murders in the Rue Morgue, The Cry of the Banshee. Mm-hmm. There's one movie that eventually we'll do.
Boy, yes.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Can't wait for that one.
Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park. He directed that.
Yes. And that's a terrible film. But if Akira Kurosawa could have somehow been convinced to direct Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, it would have still been a terrible film. You cannot blame Hessler for that disaster. But
it's a beautiful disaster.
It is.
It's the most. Oh my God, that movie. That's a 70s movie. It's it's in our future.
It's got to be.
It's
The Cry of the Banshee. None of us really like that, but that also has some cult followers as well.
It does, and I think it's another one that he was sort of pulled in at the last moment. So but that's a problem. You can get a reputation. I think Gordon Hessler is nobody's favorite horror film director, but I feel like maybe he could have been. I think there's a talent there. There's elements in all of his films where you can appreciate what there is, but it's just usually he's let down by the script. Some directors can take a lousy script and give it so much visual panache that you can overlook that. You're early Argento or something. And some folks, no, they're not going to be able to make,
they're not going to be a polished turd. Okay.
Yeah.
He directed Betty Davis in a Jimmy Sangster scripted movie for TV called Scream Pretty Peggy.
Oh.
Which I don't know much about.
I don't think I've seen that. No. I bet he got some good stories out of that, though. Old Betty Davis is a hoot.
Yeah. And some Ted Bessel is in it. And I don't know. I just saw that it was on here and I said, is that a horror movie? It sounds like it could be a horror movie. And
okay, so where do you guys know Ted Bessel from?
Wasn't he like one of the Three Stooges? No, Ted Bessel. Oh, what am I thinking?
He was Marlo Thomas's boyfriend in that.
Oh, what?
Oh no. Okay.
Oh wow.
And he was in a show called Me and the Chimp.
Oh my God, I remember Me and the
Chimp. Yeah.
That was one of those things that lasted for half a season or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, but he did TV like crazy, Kolchak, Kung Fu, The Blue Knight. You remember that? Chips. He did quite a few Chips. 12 episodes of Chips.
Wow. He's
Wonder Woman. A couple episodes of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He made a living.
He made a living.
I mean, you can see some of his. I mean, you can see some talent from the directing in this film. I mean, there are scenes in here that work. It's not the scenes or the director that's the problem. It's the narrative. The narrative is so
right.
It's kind of like somebody that was aping Quentin Tarantino, but it's long before Quentin Tarantino even existed. So
looking at the fact that
or
he
at
did
least
so much television, I kind of wonder if that's how things work. They've got a movie, The Oblong Box. The script is, and the original director can't direct it. Who can we get who will get in there, get it done on time, and it'll be coherent as this script can be.
Yeah.
Gordon Hessler might have been a good pick for that.
Yeah, because I imagine he didn't really care. he didn't care about the product. He was just getting the job done. He was a director for hire, I guess.
When you see his interviews, there's a lot of talk where, like, I think the one that really kind of broke his heart was Murders in the Rue Morgue, which he said they just edited into incoherence. And I've seen it, and I can believe that. It's another one of those. It's got some cool shots and cool scenes, but it never quite comes together. And that may have been something that was just butchered in the editing process.
He was also a producer for the Alfred Hitchcock Hour on like 69 episodes.
Wow.
There's another horror movie he directed for TV called Tales of the Haunted, which is also known as Evil Stalks This House, which has Jack Palance in it.
Wow.
And Cindy Hines.
I'll have to seek some of these out.
Well, now
and Christopher Lee is a host, so it looks like it was like a pilot for maybe for an anthology show or something.
You know, he also did one. He directed a movie that I remember seeing as a kid. It was one of those TV movies, and it was where George Kennedy gets bitten by a skunk. A Cry in the Wilderness. He gets bitten by a rabid skunk and chains himself to a barn. Because he's afraid he's going to get rabies. I don't know if the skunk actually had rabies, and tells his son, "Don't let me go no matter what." But then there's like a flood coming, and the dad is trying to like, "Hey, there's a flood coming." Like, "Oh my God, he's afraid of water. He's got rabies." And like, no, there's actually a flood. Like, okay, ludicrous premise, but man, it really stuck with me. I'd like to watch that again and see if it holds up in my memory.
So he also
good luck with that.
He also directed The Girl in a Swing.
Yeah.
Based on a Richard Adams book. Watership Down. Richard Adams, which starred Meg Tilly.
I think that got some of the best reviews of his life, actually. I don't know. I just feel like there's a man, he had a successful career. He's got nothing to be ashamed of. He worked pretty much the whole time, but I just feel like other than Golden Voyage of Sinbad, which again doesn't count, he never had the chance to make that movie that would just show, here's what I can do.
Okay, so we're having fun. So let's do another one. Here's another TV movie from him. The Strange Possession of Mrs. Oliver. The writer is Richard Matheson.
Ooh, well, that's good.
It stars George Hamilton and as Mrs. Oliver, Karen Black.
Oh, that seems promising. What year did that come out?
77.
Yeah, well, maybe we need to explore that.
Yeah, so
we've
got like 3 new movies from this guy.
We have not heard the last of Mr. Hessler.
No, we have not.
For a director that probably is not really renowned, he may end up having more stuff on Decades of Horror of the 70s than any other director.
If we have anything to say about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's move on. I think we've had enough. Any last words about Gordon Hessler?
Yeah. Rest in peace, sir.
Rest in peace. All right. Very good. All right. I'm going to do this out of order from when they're in here, but we're going to start with Vincent Price. Because I loved him in this.
Yeah.
He was so, there's a couple scenes where he's kind of like a suspect, sort of, where they come to his house and ask him about the first lady that got killed, and then they come asking about the vat, but they always end on this great shot of him just kind of going da-dum, staring off into the distance, right? It's like something menacing is happening beneath, and it was just crazy. But the whole superpowers at the end, I loved it. Loved it. It was pure Price.
Yeah, he lies without conscience. He just lies. Yeah. It's just boom, boom, boom. It just comes out of his mouth, and then later you find out, oh, that sucker was lying. He's not a good guy, because we don't know at the beginning, right?
No, we don't. Although the music and the dun,
the music kind of left something to be desired sometimes. This isn't the typical Vincent Price over the top hamminess. There's a little bit of that, just enough. It's just a fun performance.
It's actually, I guess it is kind of restrained by comparison, but only barely.
Well, it doesn't feel to me like he's using because he's got a lot of I don't know how to say it, a lot of stock bits, kind of like facial expressions and stuff. And I felt like that none of that was here. I felt like this was all fairly fresh Vincent Price, and it kind of caught me by surprise and looked pretty cool.
Well, if you listen to him when he talks about this film later on, he had no idea what was going on. So maybe that was just Vincent Price's. I guess I'm going.
We're right there with you, Vinny.
I think Christopher Lee said something along that line too.
Oh, I bet. Speaking,
I can just imagine them flipping through the script, and it's like, okay, here's a bunch of stuff that doesn't have me, and here's me, and I learned those lines. Then you go back and let's see how this all ties together. And like, did they not give me all the pages?
Man. And there's Christopher Lee, and basically, okay. So he's a character high up in the political chain of command in whatever version of Europe this is, of England, and there's so many weird things because there's like this pilot they're worried about that goes nowhere.
Yeah.
Then there's all these weird things, and then he finally meets up with the bad guy, but the bad guy's wearing this funny little hat with a pom pom on the top of his head.
You might as well have a propeller. Yeah,
I know. It's like, what the hell, dude? I guess is that a disguise? It's very.
He stands out. It's like he's like, where's Waldo? Yeah,
it's a sporty European Alpine. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, it would have worked if it didn't have the poof at the top.
Well,
you got a picture of it later on, Bill. But that whole intro scene was what the hell?
You got me.
Oh, the guy with the
guy staggering around. Is that the guy that was in the hospital bed finally?
Yeah. That's the guy.
Right. Whatever his deal was, just every time we see him again, he's Monty Python's Black Knight.
Well, we see him again later on. He's in the drawers.
Sure.
We see his leg, his arm, and his head in the drawers.
I just like that top shot.
I mean, that was the next. Composed. That was obviously the next thing. Oh,
yeah. I think Gordon had an eye for the ladies. It is pretty sleazy in this movie. There's a lot more nudity than I'm used to seeing in an Amicus movie, and a lot of them are dead and nude, which is even creepier. So,
And then there's a lot of implied, in it.
There's a lot of,
and then of course there we
go.
Cushing, who is brilliant in the small role. I mean, he definitely plays a major, but it feels like he's supposed to be a general. But he has that authority and stuff to it. But he just isn't ready for the Vulcan pinch.
Would have made a great Nazi. Not in real life. He was a wonderful man, but he was actually going to play Heinrich in a Hammer film called Savage Jackboot. And that would have been crazy to see Peter Cushing playing against type. And this is about the closest I guess we got to it, with standing in front of the 3 dick symbol or whatever that
the 3.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
there's also a story about Christopher Lee being involved in his assassination too, isn't there? In real life.
Heinrich? Really?
Oh, Heinrich? Oh, whoa. Ooh, that'd be quite the feather in his cap.
The SAS. I don't know. We'll have to double check that. But I'm sorry, Doc. I interrupted you.
I was going to say, well, that's quite a left turn. I was just going to say, Grand Moff Tarkin might be a little closer, but
yeah.
If you think about it, but
wasn't wearing slippers in this one though.
Well, we don't know.
Well, maybe
he could be.
Well, he's the only guy that I actually believed that his killer actually had the power to do the super Vulcan knife pit.
Yeah.
Didn't he do a great job of it?
Yeah.
Great.
Didn't make a lick of sense. Why was this guy doing that? I don't know.
And how did he keep getting away with it, right?
Yeah.
He's moving up the ladder by assassination.
Yes.
Then he puts on a pom-pom hat and
gets thrown in meets Vincent Price, and that's got his
conked in the head with a fire extinguisher.
Well, we've talked about these three actors so much. I mean, other than the performance in here, is there really there's so much stuff
left to say.
Yeah.
They're so good. But boy, if I had the chance to make a movie and have these three guys in it, there is nothing in heaven and earth would stop me from having at least one scene with them together. But we only got that once, right? House of Long Shadows.
House of Long Shadows, yeah. And they along with John Carradine.
Yeah, and they would do that. It's like Peter Cushing's in Dr. Fives Rises Again, but he's not with Vincent Price. It's just another little bit role that. I mean,
he is in Madhouse, though. They act together. That's a good one.
Oh, okay.
Madhouse is where Vincent Price is a actor, and
right.
I forget. I think is Peter Cushing the director or the writer or something, or an agent? I forget what he is. But
I haven't seen that in a long time. That's another one.
I haven't either. Yeah, but it's got that great look for.
Oh yeah,
the doctor. Yeah. So they did. I mean, they did eventually act together, but not in this one. Not even he was acted, but his counterpart that showed up
cameo
took his name on the trailer.
Right. Who are they fooling?
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. So real quick, this. I just saw this in the notes, and I just got to say it before I forget. But this movie, when it was released in '71 by AIP theatrically, it was on a double bill in the States with The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant.
Wow! They go together like peanut and butter. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It was distributed in the U.S. by AIP and in the U.K. by Anglo Amalgamated. So, which is a common.
The double features often didn't make any sense, but.
Do we have anything other than Assorted? Because I may not see it left. But there's the while you look, there's the hand hanging down.
Yeah.
And our guy,
Mr. Potato Head there, and no effort is made to make it really look like his legs have been cut off.
No, but the scream. Okay, so when they say scream and scream again, there's two things. He's the one that screams and scream again, and then they sing the song. Oh, where is Chad when you need him?
Oh my God! Yes.
Song. Scream and scream again.
That bottom shot.
That band was actually a real band that had hits.
Yeah, not
that one. We heard it way too often.
Well, I'm just going to throw this back up again just for a second, Doc, because we didn't talk about it, but I use this for a reason. Well, you don't need to do that. I love this guard. This guard is like the one character movie that like he knows what his job is. And he does it great. And after he sends people off to their death without them even knowing it, he salutes them in the window. From below.
On the screen,
with a big smile on his face.
Yep. He looks like every East German guard we ever.
Don't know why, but I just love that guy.
All right, so
let's see. I think that's it.
All right, we got Alfred Marks plays the detective that we follow through most of the film, and he is wonderful. He's like you said, he's like one of the best British cops of the 70s in these horror movies, because like usually they're kind of dense, right? Or they're gags, they're funny. But here he's got it. I don't know what he's done though. I mean,
he could have made a series of films with that character, going after werewolves and vampires, but apparently that was not in the cards.
No, that was probably something he signed up for. Nope. Please no. Oh man. But he's done so much work. I don't know if he's done much genre stuff though.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. The Ghosts of Motley Hall, which was a TV series.
Yeah, it looks like 71 credits, and it looks like it's mostly British stuff, but he was absolutely fantastic. I'd like to see him in more stuff. I'd like to catch some of these things just to see him in it, because he looks like he was was Charlie the fire chief in a show called Firecrackers. 64, 65. Firecrackers. Get it? They crack the fires.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually
yes.
a good one.
Christopher Matthews is the doctor character. I don't even remember what their name is, but he becomes the hero toward the latter part of the show. And he works. He was I guess he's called a radar technician in the 10th Planet episodes of Doctor Who in the 60s. So I imagine that's just a bit part. He was in Scars of Dracula. We probably, if you saw that, he's Paul Carson in that, so you probably remember him from that more than anything. 21 credits. Not too many genre stuff, really. But I thought he was good too. Yes.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
don't forget Keith.
Keith.
Michael Gothard was in Who Slew
Auntie Roo.
Or I think it's Whoever Slew Auntie Roo. It's a strange. He's also in The Devils.
Oh, wow. Oh my God. Yes. He's the guy. He's the guy with the round little John Lennon glasses.
Yep.
Yeah, creepy.
That's another movie we got to do.
Oh my God, that movie. Yeah. Well, good luck finding the unedited version here. It's been 50 years and that film still is raising hackles.
Raising hackles. He was in
Life Force.
Life Force, yes.
Oh wow, yeah.
Bukowski. I think he's one of the guys that's involved with the thing coming to life. The one guy that has this.
Oh yeah.
The drained guy. I don't know how to explain him. He's the one that's shriveled up and he comes up. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I actually he might be
the electric
I have to think about that now, but he might be the guy that's in the famous shot of the two. I got to think about that to go double check that. Warlords of the Deep.
Warlords of the Deep. Oh no.
Doug McClure.
Warlords of the Deep. Oh my gosh, that movie. We should say that Stensgaard, right?
I got some pictures.
Now, I was thinking that she's the one that gets threatened to get her pinky cut off, right? Okay, because she's she's gorgeous.
Yeah, she is.
Right,
very pretty.
Yeah.
You kind of figure that's a character that's going to go somewhere, but not so much.
No.
Well, and the lead in she plays the Mercala Carmilla in Lust for a Vampire.
Yep.
She has you can always tell her she has a nice little dimple on her chin.
Okay. I was wondering where you were going with that.
Yes.
There was a pregnant nice pause there.
It's Judy Blume. Is she the one that plays the detective lady?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
She has 26 credits. This is one of her last ones.
She's in
a lot of just TV series.
She seemed like a big part that she just kind of.
Yeah, they introduce all. You're like, when you get to the end of this movie, it's like, who was the main character of this movie? It was the detective, but
he gets killed.
Yeah, you don't normally bump off your main character 15 minutes before the end.
It ends up being the blonde doctor, right?
I guess, but we don't really get to know him that well. I was rooting for the detective. I
was too, right?
I mean, sometimes they'll say, "Hey, well, that's what we're doing. We're subverting audience expectations," and like, that's not.
I don't think that was
disappointing.
Yeah, you're disappointing us. It's like there's no particular charm in telling a story badly and saying, "Well, I bet you didn't expect that." No, I expected it to be, the way a story should be, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, we should talk about Marshall Jones, who plays Conrads, who is the body double of Peter Cushing in the trailer. And he's also the guy that wears the funny hat and does the Vulcan.
The ambitious ladder climber through assassination.
And he would work with Hessler again in Cry of the Banshee and Murs and Remorque.
So he obviously got along. What was the plan here? We're making these composite people, and then what? Profit? I mean, what's the goal?
It was a new race, didn't they? Except it wasn't going to be an evil race.
Yeah, it's a master race, but
like an army, I guess. But apparently they had different. I don't know. The one guy, Keith, was bent on picking up girls in the disco and killing them, and I guess they weren't discos then; they were
go-go halls,
something go-go place. Yeah, and then the nurse likes to walk in and silently watch the guy scream after he discovers he's had another limb lopped off.
She's got issues. And Vincent Price, of course, wants to just keep on mad doctoring. I get that. Seems like the only one that really has a plan is Christopher Lee. He seems to be, working his way up the ranks without having to kill everybody and just, that's calling attention to yourself.
He lets them do it to each other. He needs to step in and do the one final kill. Oh my gosh.
Well, the one, there's a rather grisly death of, I never caught her name. Her name was Sylvia in here, but Judy Huxtable. And she was pretty good. She gets picked up at the go-go place and goes out with him. And it's kind of a little, what's the word I want? She when he gets a little rough with her, she says, well, you don't have to hurt. She doesn't get worked up at all. She says, you don't have to hurt me.
So she can escape. She's smart.
So she does.
Right. But so who was the first composite? I mean, somebody had to make Vincent Price.
Well, yeah. Well, I think, did Vincent Price make himself, maybe?
See, my interpretation was, if you realize that it's supposed to be aliens, is that Christopher Lee is an alien, which is why he's got the mind powers and everything. And he built Vincent Price, and Vincent Price has been doing stuff, but he hasn't been doing a particularly good job because his composites are kind of like a little funny in the head, except for the nurse. Well, she's the nurse funny in the head too. Yeah, she really kind of.
Yeah. The nurse and the other doctor that we get briefly, he's the one to get pushed over the railing. They're both like like zombie composites. Yeah. They don't quite. And then of course we have I forget what his name was, but the vampire one.
Yeah, he's a failure. He's a flop.
Keith, the vampire composite. I love it.
Which is why at the end, Christopher Lee shows up there and it's like, this is not going the way, you have failed to the acid bath with you, sir. There's no back.
Well, and when after like the longest chase in cinematic history.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like 20 minutes, Keith, literally they had, Tim Lucas talks about that in the commentary and he tells you how long it is and how long the other, like the chase in Bullet's only like 7 minutes. And the chase in French Connection is only this long. This is this long, and they maintain this. Although I was, the last time he runs away, I'm like, oh come on, you guys.
Yeah.
But his escape is to jump into the pit of acid.
Very effective. They did not. Were not able to follow him.
Well,
the one guy tried.
One guy reached for him.
He's going to lose that arm.
But that was hilarious. The inspector tells him to do it. And then when his arm almost falls off, it's like he's going to lose most of that arm. It doesn't bother him at all. It doesn't bother the inspector.
Yeah, that chase. I mean, you're right. It was well constructed. It was well filmed, but it was too flippin' long. The Fugitive didn't run for as long as this guy. I mean,
there's a lot of padding in this movie.
Yes,
I did like how he was kind of like super Spidey crawling up that cliff too. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, but how about cutting 5 minutes of that chase out and using it to, I don't know, explain what's going on, throw us a freaking bone.
They try. They give us the last couple minutes, but
they throw you a few bones. But
like all supervillains, Vincent Price turns into Chatty Cathy at the end.
Yeah, he does. He gives up the goat, doesn't he? He just he lets him because I don't know. I guess he sees him as some kind of somebody to share his vision or something. There was the motivation there is a little sketch, but
I do get that people laugh at the trope, but if I committed the perfect murder or something, it would just be eating at me that nobody knows about it except maybe the person I murdered. It's like you just, oh man, is there any way that I could maybe I should write a book. And you know, and then after I'm dead, it's like, wait a second. Then people realize, yeah, you know, it's got to be frustrating to be part of something really, really big that nobody knows about. But if you are a supervillain out there, just a tip: shut up. Just keep it to yourself. Take some personal pride in the fact that you are a supervillain and have come up with a plan for world domination, but don't be telling everyone about it, or it's not going to work. You'll fail, and then you'll be, why did I tell Batman? I don't know.
So speaking of telling, what do you tell horror fans about this movie? You know, somebody that doesn't know anything about Scream and Scream Again. How do you say this is what you're in for? I mean, without doing an hour of explanation like we have. What do you say? Do you recommend it? Do you don't?
Let me ask you something, Timmy. Do you take a lot of drugs?
Timmy, poor Timmy. I don't know. Is that necessary though? I don't know.
It might help.
I don't know what you tell somebody. The poster's the best part. I mean,
the title is so great though. Scream and Scream Again.
Part of the there was a whole bunch of good British Scream movies. There was Scream and Scream Again. There was The Earth Dies Screaming. Also,
oh yeah.
There was and Now the Screaming Starts.
Yeah.
And they actually tried to make a movie come out with I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, but Harlan Ellison put a stop to that. Yeah.
Oh wow. Do you think they could remake this film today?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think they could. I think this could probably.
It wouldn't be this film. It'd be a
no. But I think
assuming
this could
they'd
be
make a story, right?
A series or something, or a good episode of Black Mirror. Or, you know, you could tighten it up, throw out some stuff, keep some other things, and explain a whole lot more. But yeah, there's some good ideas in here. I can see where they were attracted to this because it's a film with some really cool ideas. They just never come together.
Yeah, I mean, it does have a large cast. Now, a lot of them are like day players or, you know, very, very supporting the supporting characters. But it would make an interesting TV show. There's a big enough cast to, you know, make some of the other roles larger and get more involved in the story. And you've got opposing sides, kind of like Bond versus Spectre kind of thing going on.
Right.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah, man.
And don't kill the detective because you might want him for the sequel.
Yeah. And then you got the doctor and I don't know. It seems like you listened to all the specials stuff. Did they ever explain what happened to the story?
Well, yeah. I mean, we've already kind of talked about it. So first off, it was supposed to be aliens, and I believe Milton Subotsky was a big pusher of this, and he was madder than hell when they took the aliens out. And it seems like he should have been able to keep them in, but
you would
apparently
think
not. And at that point, I think it got kind of funky. You know, you couldn't go back. You just kind of invented this communist thing. I think this is not that different from. There's several other movies of like right in this like 2 or 3 year period that are weird ass, almost like spy / science fiction / horror, but you know that they have a hard time tying the loose ends up when they get a general idea and they just can't do it. I'm trying to think of I think what is the Baba film? Is it?
Oh, the one with the
Danger Diabolic.
Yeah. That to me, that's a little bit like this. Maybe it's been a while since I saw it.
Yeah, you know, I mean that is a thing of its time, the spy thriller. Because when you think of spies now, I think of someone behind a computer screen hacking into a Chinese supercomputer or something. But back then, that was a big deal. You know, we would meet the Russians at a bridge and exchange one of their spies for one of ours. It was like a game that was being played, and there was, nobody knew who the spies were. There were legit spies in the British government and here and there and everything. That was a neat thing that's kind of fallen by the wayside now. So yeah, there's a lot, but this movie can't make up its mind what it wants to be. Frankly,
Tim Lucas says a lot more positive about this than negative. His negatives are just sort of like asides. But these are all great things here.
That's if any of the folks out there, I mean, Tim Lucas, you should know who he is. You should get every edition of Video Watchdog you can. But he's one of those persons. Yeah, if you're listening to his commentary, I'll be listening to a commentary of his for a movie I don't particularly like, and by the time it's over, I'm like, maybe I've been a little unfair here. His enthusiasm is infectious, and his knowledge is so much that you feel smarter for having listened to it, and it's like maybe I'll appreciate this film more. I mean, he's one of the biggest pushers of Jess Franco. So if you can make Jess Franco something I want to watch more than once, you've got some mad skills.
I believe he comes up in the commentary, if I remember right.
Mm.
It is kind of interesting that this movie is like a spaghetti full of genre.
Yeah.
I mean, by the end of it, we're full on Frankenstein. I mean, literally, like it's made in parts, and even Frankenstein is a Frankenstein monster. So it
kind of comes out of nowhere. Yeah. And again, you say, could they make this film today? It would have to be very different, because people don't have the patience for a film that is this meandering and seemingly random things that are not related, waiting for that moment where it all comes together, because that moment doesn't come together until the film's almost over.
Right. Although we are used to non-sequential narrative, right? What is that? There's another word for that, but Quentin Tarantino made it popular, right? Where it's not chronological. So
it's a very interesting choice at the beginning, because if I remember right, we intercut between, here's a guy staggering down the street. Can't remember what happens. Is he hit by something?
No, it's like he has a heart attack.
Yeah. Well, then he's in this hospital. Then you go to Keith picking some girl up and killing her. And then you go back to the hospital.
And then you have the other guy.
God. One of my legs is gone. And he asks the nurse a bunch of questions, and she never answers him. Gives him a shot, puts him out. Then we cut to another scene. Then we go back to the guy. He gets another leg lopped off. It's a very strange choice.
Yes,
that disrupts your following the train of the plot. It doesn't. Right. They don't obviously fit together. And it's not real obvious that those are his parts in the freezer there to you either.
Well, until you see his head.
Yeah. Well, that's
a giveaway.
Once you see his head. All right. Well, I think we've given you the idea about this film. You can check it out. We saw it on either Tubi or Freevee, or you could buy the Blu-ray. What was the Blu-ray?
Kino Lorber.
Yeah, which I guess you would recommend if you like bizarre films.
Well, if you're into, I just like, it's like Bill said. When we do a film like this, I'll start off, I'll watch it and go, well, this is shite, and then I'll listen to a commentary and go, oh, what the hell, and then I'll watch it again and go, yeah, they had some good points there. By the time I'm done, I've grown an affection for the filmmakers and trying to understand what it was they were trying to do. They weren't just out there shooting from the hip most of the time, but
sometimes
I enjoy that process.
It's not a lazy film. It's not one of those films that's just da 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 da. Stuff happens and predictable, and you're snoozing off there. There clearly was a vision here. It's just I'm having a hard time seeing it. Yeah, but there's something there.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique structure. So it is. If you're a fan of the 70s, I definitely think you want to check it, especially if you're a fan of these three icons. Even though you're going to get disappointed they're not in the same scenes together, it's still important enough to.
I mean, I wouldn't make this the first film I show someone to try to get them into 70s horror. I mean, maybe you want to start with some Dr. Fives.
Even though it might have been the first 70s horror film. All right. Well, I believe, Jeff, we have some feedback.
We do, if I can find it.
Is at the bottom.
Yeah. I was in the wrong place. Okay. Yes, we do. And as I said before, a journey here with Jose Luis Lepron, and I love it because he's posting things of old episodes.
Yeah, he's going through our stuff. Yeah,
his first one today, and I'm doing these in oldest first in terms of House. Bill, you want to take that one?
Sure. Jose says, I've heard a lot about this one. I've considered ordering the Criterion Blu-ray, but I haven't pulled the trigger. But I like really weird films, and I think I need to pull that trigger. Dude, if you like really weird films, pull that trigger, because this one's way up there.
Watch me nodding my head emphatically. Pull the trigger.
There's all these weird 70s films, and then there's House.
There are great extras on that Criterion Blu-ray with a long interview with the director talking about his daughter's dream and all that stuff. It's
oh my gosh.
Okay, episode 135, Damien Omen 2, which has gained an amazing. We've had 3 comments on that episode in the last.
Oh, right.
Somebody shared it in like a
maybe
Omen group or something.
An Omen group.
Yikes.
Now, Doc, there's a little bit of criticism in there. If you want to read it, or do you want me to read it?
I'll read it.
Okay.
Because it's directed to me, it seems. A couple of points to.
Well, this is from Gregory Peck, 1606.
Oh, wow.
Oh, awesome. Gregory.
I love your work, sir.
Yeah. A couple of points to Doc Rodden. I can't do a Gregory Peck imitation. If you are going to make a statement that a movie is not well constructed, it's a good idea to give examples of what leads you to think that. Okay, I agree.
Those are true.
I agree.
True.
I probably meant to, didn't do it. Sometimes I forget. Most times I do. It's okay. As far as Damien's motive,
I usually interrupt him and he loses his train of thought. Sorry. I just
did it again.
As far as Damien's motive in killing the stepmother, it's simple. He's systematically taking out any other successor to the Thorn Empire. Also, as others have stated, she fulfilled her main purpose in ambushing Richard. So I guess I had a problem understanding why. Okay. All right. I've forgotten. All right. The last one is by doing this himself without remorse, it hints that Damien indeed has embraced his destiny. Yes. I agree.
Oh, he definitely embraces. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you, Gregory Peck.
Comments, Mr. Peck or Mr. 1606. I'm not sure. Next one is Eaten Alive. Toby Hooper's episode 136 from Jose. Back to Bill.
Okay, Jose says, I do have the Arrow, I think, Blu-ray of this one. I don't watch it often, but it has always been one of those films that, to me, is more about how it makes me feel than it does about making much sense, which it mostly doesn't. It's sleazy and grimy, and the characters are unlikable, and it all makes me itch and squirm. I think the powder in the packet is bicarbonate of soda, baking soda, for his upset stomach after what he's done. BC powder. It confused me for a few viewings as well. Of course, snorting doesn't seem the thing to do, so I could be totally wrong. I guess I've forgotten. So there's some stuff with BC powder in there. That's BC powder is a totally Southern thing that I was completely unaware of, but I had a headache once in the theater, and the theater folk gave me this BC powder, and like, you just sort of pour it down. I'm like, okay. So I poured it down and managed to inhale about half of it, and I spent the next hour coughing like Jeff Mohr.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
That would be bad.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I'd never heard of that before. I'm glad you brought that up, because I wasn't sure what he meant by BC, bicarbonate. So.
Yeah, BC powder. I know what that is.
Yeah, and you wouldn't want to snort it, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Nope.
I agree. Okay, I'm going to take this one. This is episode 153, Frenzy, from Ron in Bar. I appreciate that, Ron in Bar. You took time to write us a comment from the bar. He says it's pronounced Leicester Square. It's from the song "It's a Long Way to Tipperary." And I wrote this in because I had to go back and check. That was one of the locations, was Leicester Square, which is spelled Leicester, which I believe we have called either Leicester, and I'm pretty sure I called it Leicester, because I thought it was one of those fast syllables in the middle.
Yeah.
Leicester, only Leicester.
There's a lot of unnecessary letters in that name.
And there is. In order to be Leicester Square, you got to take the ICE out. And I appreciate you correcting us.
Thanks.
But And you're not really being critical about it. You're just saying, hey, guys, this is the way it's pronounced.
So we don't want to look like a bunch of rubes if we ever end up in England and we're asking people, where's Leicester Square? And
yes.
Well, there's a lot of stuff like that. I think
we
get sometimes when we say instead of it's usually sure, but who knows? Even though in The Hobbit they live in the Shire, I'm totally lost in these intricacies of British pronunciations, and I'm sure they are with Americans because we do like to be efficient and take out the extra letters like the U in color and humor. So that's why the unpronounced ICE right in the middle seems unnecessary. But Leicester Square. All right, we will do our best because we have learned we are teachable. We have learned that Michael Goff is Michael Goff, as in cough.
And Jerry Chandler tells us every time we mispronounce the Quatermass movies, but we still do it anyway.
Still throw get that extra R in there.
Alistair does too.
And well deserved that they do that.
No, I'll never get it right. It's a mental block.
Okay, episode 186, Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah.
That should be Bill.
Jose, yes. I saw this at a drive-in when it was first released. I was 7. Perfect time to see that movie. Wow. There was a trailer for a little film called Star Wars, which we would see a week or so later. It doesn't really hold up as well as the other efforts, for sure, though. It's the weakest of the Sinbad movies. Yeah.
Also, I was thinking he might be comparing to Star Wars, but
we're getting these comments, and we're getting a picture of Jose's childhood. Which his folks take him to the drive-in frequently.
I'll bet when little 7-year-old Jose, a week or so later, when he went to see Star Wars, even though I was about 10 years older than him, I'll bet our expressions were exactly the same in the first minute of that film when the spaceship comes over.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa, my life has just changed.
It literally, it did. It really changed everything, didn't it?
Yep.
In a lot of ways.
Right. Moving to the next episode 187, Dark Star from Jose. Doc?
Dark Star, Jose says, oh man, this was one of the very first DVDs I bought after the format came out, probably 2000 or so. I haven't seen it since, but I see the box on the shelf. Time to watch it. You've inspired me.
There you go.
Those boxes do stare back at you from the shelf, don't they?
Don't they? They do. They do.
Excellent. You know what? I am so surprised that we've had very little comments about Dark Star. I thought there would be more about that, but we'll see. Maybe this will bring it up. Episode 188, The Satanic Rites of Dracula from Jose.
Let me do that one. Let me do that. Bill should do Godzilla.
Okay.
All right. Jose says about Satanic Rites of Dracula. Interesting. Well, maybe not so much. Coincidence. I was going through my LPs after I got my turntable service and found 2 of my Laserdiscs that had been shuffled in among them. Day of the Triffids. That's awesome. And this one. I had forgotten I bought it used and I've never seen it, but now I can.
All right.
What a great experience this Laserdisc, man.
I love Laserdiscs. And you know what? Listen, man, hang on to them because those things will outlive probably all the other mediums out there. Long after all the VHS is turned to dust. Actually, I don't know. Maybe Laserdisc disappears too.
I don't know. Never had one.
It'll outlive me.
Watched it once.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law had a fancy one, and he put some movie on it. I don't remember, but that was when he was showing me all the zooms and frame by frame and all that stuff. That you got.
Vinyl's making a comeback. Maybe
Laserdisc can.
Sure. I wouldn't surprise me a bit. Episode 199, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Jose again.
Jose says,
I
have such fond memories of seeing this movie on Sunday afternoon TV matinees in the mid to late 70s. He's right. This is about the only Godzilla movie they played for a while. My first video version was a dreadful VHS version. 6 or 7 years ago, I found the Blu-ray at a used media store. It's rubbish, but a lot of fun, as many of the late Showa era films.
Rubbish.
The Seatopians with their 70s disco garb. Oh, God. Yes. The Seatopian King, or whatever he's called. He's in Mothra and Battle in Outer Space as well. Just looking a little older, balder, and paunchier, as I suppose are we all. That's a little hurtful, but accurate. Fun stuff.
Punchier would be polite for me.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
It is great that guy. We talked about that. I think the actor that played
funny.
that is in some really strange parts.
Yeah, he's got a real good. I've read some interviews with him. He's got a great sense of humor about it.
All right, episode 200, The Exorcist.
Woo.
Me.
With Jose again. Yes.
Jose says, "Oh my God! I first saw this in late middle school, early high school, around 1983-84 on VHS. I was watching with my parents, and that crucifix scene. Oof! I was mortified. Probably just because you were watching with your parents at the time.
Right.
Now I think it's a great film, and it's interesting to me that many people I speak with say the medical testing scenes were far more harrowing than the horror elements, and in a way, they are. And I think it's just because a lot of us fear doing all those things, but it almost shows you. Well, there's a message there with how we treat each other. Is well, so weird.
I know. I mean, all of us are far more likely to end up in some bad medical situation than possessed by a demon. I hope.
Well, I think Friedkin talked about.
Would we ever know? Would we ever know? I mean,
yeah.
I think Friedkin talked about that the stories of people that couldn't handle it and left the theater, a lot of them were from those surgical scenes with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one scene like where they do the blood test and it squirts out onto the and that's not even but the dunk and she screams. And
you're absolutely right, sir. Episode 201, The Psychic. We're almost done, boys. Okay. From Jose.
You want me to do that? Okay.
Bill, I think, yeah.
When I was in college, I worked part-time as a cashier in a gas station and worked with a really awesome guy who was in his 40s. We were talking about horror movies one night. He told me about a movie he saw in the 70s where a woman fell over a cliff and kept hitting rocks on the way down. For years, I've looked for the film only to discover a couple years ago that it's this film. I haven't seen it, but want to based upon, if nothing else, his description as he passed away a couple years ago. It is so frustrating when you have a very specific memory of something you saw. And they have forums on the internet where people go in there and say, what it is. And sometimes some people are able to find it. We've even had that experience here. And sometimes I think our minds have joined together a bunch of different stuff and maybe some dreams, and it doesn't exist. It may be in the Mandela world or something, but
I wonder, if it is Mandela a little bit. Anyway, Mandela effect.
I'm going to have to find, because I thought I had one on here where I talked to you guys about it. Maybe I put it in a different DOH where a guy was looking for a movie and he had these. I'll see if I can remember just in case somebody else comes up with it. You guys both responded with possibility of Latitude Zero, and he said that's not it. Okay. So it was a movie that had to do with, and vague memories, right, of coming to an island storm, maybe in a submarine, and a flying lion.
Did he figure out what it was?
And it was black and white. No, he still has it. He
just black and white.
Said it's not Latitude Zero, and he saw it in 76, but that doesn't tell you when the movie was made.
No.
And I should have a couple things with him. I don't know if he lives in Italy, but he sprinkles his stuff with Italian, his comments. So
that's awesome.
so maybe an Italian film. I don't know. I'll have to dig that out and make sure we cover it on the other DOHs to see if anybody could come up with what they think that movie might be. All right. It's frustrating when you can't come with those. And I've had people help me on here on a couple different things.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And lastly, this is really strange. These are under Death Game, but they have nothing to do with Death Game, episode 205. So I'm not going to say this username, but this says, Hey guys, this is Santos' sister. Just glad I can subscribe to your channel and enjoy your show.
Thank you so much.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I backtrack a little bit, and it is his sister, as he says, her through social media, past the username. So really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
You didn't give your name, so I'm not going to give it. And very
for
cool.
For those new listeners that may not know that we began the show, gosh, how many years ago now? But with Santos and myself started it off
10
years ago. Jeez.
10 or 12, I think. I think your first two was 2013. Does that sound right?
Time fly by, but yeah, Santos was. He and I both loved the '70s so much, and we so enjoyed revisiting these films.
Mm-hmm.
Miss him every day.
Yeah,
Santos Ellen Jr., also known as the Black Saint.
Great guy.
So yeah, appreciate that a lot. Here's one from Merit Neith, Neith, Meretneith. Happy New Year from Germany.
Happy New Year.
Appreciate
Happy New Year. Yeah. Wow. That's great.
It is. They've made comments before, so appreciate that. And Otto Z, Ataz,
Zardoz.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not Oz.
It's interesting. I'm wondering what he's like. I love you guys. I watch all of the episodes. Great work.
Why did he start off with a ha?
I don't know.
I love it. I'm not complaining. It's just ha.
You guys are awesome. LOL.
Appreciate all these comments, each and every one of them. So you can all leave comments on the Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel, or in the Gruesome Magazine and DOH Facebook group. I forget what it's all called now.
Yeah. All those and more.
And or the website, gruesomemagazine.com. Or you can send them to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com. And we try to read them all. All right. That's it for feedback.
That's it.
Appreciate Jose. I hope you love that we're reading all these, because I love going through this journey with you. It's just really interesting and we learn things about people by their experiences with movies and when they went through them.
Well, I mean, that's what we're sharing too. We share when we first watch these and stuff, and like when we were talking about Santos earlier, the hearing him share all the experiences of going to the the sleazy theaters in New York to catch these weird horror films. Love hearing those stories. All right,
the mustard, unbuckling his pants when nobody else was there.
Oh yeah, he takes his pants off to watch me. This has such a strange aside, but this is our review of Scream and Scream Again. Look forward to hearing what you think about it. We have our pick for the next episode. Jeff, you picked it. You want to share what this film is?
This is a movie called Effects from 1979. And if you don't know what it is, because I didn't, but I just looked at this and went, this is something we got to see no matter what, good or bad. While a small film crew are shooting a low-budget horror movie in a house in the woods, the lines between reality and fiction start to blur, and the movie slowly starts to turn into a snuff film. Joseph Pilato, Susan Chapek.
Joseph Pilato, was that the guy from Day of the Dead?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Tom Savini is in it. Deborah Gordon. I think there's some crossovers here of people that know. So, and
sounds like it was made in Pennsylvania.
Dusty Nelson. So this is going to be interesting, and it's available on a lot of streaming services, if I remember correctly.
I have a disc of this somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of the few that I have. Yep, like this that we do here. Wow, it's going to be fun.
This is on currently. Effects is on Tubi, Screenbox, Arrow, and Plex, and pay-per-view on most of the other regular channels for like $4. So
Watch it for free. All right. Well, there you go, Jeff. Thank you for joining. I hope you feel better soon, sir.
Yes.
Bill,
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I got me a bag of drugs from the doctor.
Okay.
There you go. Ain't nothing better than a bag of drugs. Bill, thank you for all the cats behind you. They're going to keep you safe.
Yeah.
Bill's good to see you again.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's good to be back. Good to be back. I miss doing this. It's good. Good for the soul.
Good for the soul. All right, let's get out of here. Let's say goodnight.
Night, folks.
Good night, everybody.
Gruesome Magazine.